if you wouldn't mind using your full name in your login, so that way we can take attendance and your career advisor can follow up with you. And then also, please feel free to use that chat feature at the bottom right there. It looks like a speaking thought bubble. You can see a clip of it on your screen right now. We welcome engagement, whether it's thoughts or questions throughout the presentation. We do have some time allotted to a Q&A at the end of the presentation, but we're happy to address things as they come up throughout. So again, please feel free to engage, use that chat feature, and we look forward to a great session with you all and our guest speakers. Again, we're going to give just another minute or so to let people trickle in, and then we will get started. All right, we are at 12:02. So in the interest of everyone's time, let's go ahead and get started. Again, feel free to use that chat feature, and we will get to your questions, if not during the presentation, then certainly in our Q&A. Thank you all for attending. And with that, I'm going to throw it over to our panel, and first specifically our host, Deanna Nebel.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys? Hope you guys are doing well today. I'm really honored to be able to do this webinar with you guys and with our distinguished panel. As Michael said, please, at any time he's going to be monitoring the chat, go ahead and type in your questions. If we don't see them, they will get answered at the end of the session. But my name is Tiana, and I'm actually out in California. I've been in orthopedics. This is my 25th year. All but 25 I've been in orthopedics, specifically sports medicine, extremities, and biologics. I did spend 2 of those years in cardiovascular, so pacemakers and defibrillators. That was very different ballgame. But I've worked for DePuy, all the major companies. I've owned my own distributorship, so I have a breadth of experience across both distributorship, ownership, and of course working for the big corporate companies. And so without ado, I think I'd love to introduce our panel. Dr. And I'm going to make the first cardinal sin of being a medical device rep, and that is not knowing how to pronounce Danny's last name. Are you on, Danny?
Yeah. Hi, Thiana. It's Goyle.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thanks, Deanna. So my name's Danny Goyle. I'm an orthopedic surgeon in Vancouver, BC, and the CEO and founder of Precision OS. Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you. And do we have Edward, Ed, and Brandon on?
Yes, we do. Thank you so much for having us.
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing great. Both Brandon and I were the co-founders of RepPrep.
And a little bit on your past, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So both Brandon and I, we actually have pretty similar resumes. So we started in orthopedic sales. I worked for Zimmer Biomet. Brandon worked for Stryker. Then like around 2020, we switched over to oncology diagnostics and, experiencing 2 different types of medical sales. One very hands-on, obviously, in orthopedics. The other one is very like relationship based selling. We came up with this incredible product because it was an issue that we were solving for so many reps around the world, right? Like, how do I get access to really good data that's going to help me close doctors? And more importantly, how do I get it quickly? So excited to show you guys the software, and yeah, appreciate you having us.
Of course, absolutely. So that actually segues right into innovation, right? So innovation is driving healthcare today, and everywhere you turn, literally, You see innovation in robotics, you see innovation in biologics. We're going to talk about a couple of these today, but why is innovation important? I think, the landscape is a lot different to what it used to be. Access, reimbursement, everything's changing. Policies have hit on the healthcare macro level that are basically trickling down, and everyone has to solve problems, right? To figure out how is this company going to work around the problem? How are surgeons going to work around the problem? Hospitals, etc. So we like to say that in medical device, we're partnering with our physicians and our hospitals to try and solve the problems that healthcare faces. And I think that's one of the reasons why health innovation is absolutely barreling forward. So I think it's important to also mention value-based care. Value-based care initiatives have hit, and so that presents a whole new challenge. And I think innovation is going to be the only way we really solve that, with decreasing costs and having to increase outcomes that affect reimbursement. So, Dr. Goyle, I think this would be a perfect. I actually wanted to bring you in to talk about that, value-based care initiatives. Oh.
I'm muted.
Oh.
Would you like me to share my screen, Tiana, and talk about what we're doing with virtual reality, or talk about value-based care first?
Well, yeah, value-based care first, and then I was going to actually go through a little bit on robotics and then head to you.
Yeah, so I think it's a really important topic. When we think of physicians providing care, the most important thing we can do is actually record our own outcomes, because then we're capturing the total care pathway for the patient, from seeing you, the assessment, the consultation, the actual procedure, to the outcome. Because right now we're actually not completing that full loop, and we're reporting on the outcomes of other people. So I'll use an example. If I do total shoulder replacement, so if I do a total shoulder replacement on a patient, and in that discussion beforehand, I use the science and research that's been done at the Mayo Clinic, well, that's not my outcomes. That's the Mayo Clinic's outcomes. And we all do that to some extent. And what value-based care is really driving towards is saying, can I put the right patient with the right surgeon for the right outcome? And so I need to be accountable to my own outcomes for the patients and say, what is my complication rate for this procedure? And report on that and record on that. And I think that's, when we think of value-based care from an orthopedic surgeon perspective, that's what we think about.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And I think one of the things that the companies are driving towards with value-based care is the use of robotics, right? Mm-hmm. Increase outcomes. There's actually a study that came out of Stanford talking about robotic-assisted surgeries offering benefits of precision, right, for faster recovery, and therefore expanding outcomes. And so robotics, you've got Da Vinci, which is Intuitive, has just done amazing things with the Da Vinci. In orthopedics, you have Mako, you've got Rosa, you've got Blue Belt. There's so many options for robotics, and I think that robotics definitely is here to stay. What are your thoughts on robotics?
I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's a little bit of a frightening world in some extent. Zimmer Biomet just acquired a company whose name begins with an M. I think it's called Monogram or Monograph.
Yeah.
And right now, robotics are assistive, meaning that they help us do a procedure. The next stage in this is called autonomous, where the robot is doing the entire procedure. And I think that's where the drive is towards. People like, Elon Musk and all the big tech companies are driving towards an autonomous world. We already have them. We have companies called Waymo that are essentially driving people around without drivers. Yeah. And so I think robotics will have a place to stay. And I think that there's some interesting things happening with training right now, not just in ortho, but in urology and in general surgery, where the robot is becoming a critical part of training. People are becoming dependent on these devices early on.
Do you think that's going to pose a problem if the dependency starts to increase to a level?
It's a great question. I think yes, to some extent. Yeah. Just like we're all dependent on our phones right now, I think the same thing could happen in the operating room, but they're becoming a natural part of training.
Well, I think this is actually a great segue into into Precision OS, because I actually watched your presentation at LSI, and
Oh, okay.
I noticed that your slides actually is what I actually preach to a ton of our classes, and that is deliberate practice. Right. I'm a huge fan of deliberate practice. I heard about it from a friend of mine who's a lawyer one time. That's what they do, deliberate practice, and that and making mistakes, right? So I also heard you talk about making mistakes, and that's true, because the only way your brain forms new pathways is by mistakes, right? So yeah, I think that's fantastic what you're doing. So I'll actually hand it over to you so you can kind of share your company and VR with us.
Okay, great. Let me see if I can share my screen.
It's a little computer button on the bottom with the arrow.
Yeah, I just have to find the, oh, here we go, window. MSC update. Can you see that, Deanna?
It's, yes, yep,
And is it in presentation mode?
nope.
Okay, Google, let's see here. How is that now?
You-
Give it a second. It's thinking. How's that?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, it's in full screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you, Theana and Mike, for the introduction as well as the invitation. I'll talk a little bit about learning using VR and how we've used technologies like AI and remote mentorship. And I think when I was putting this talk together, when I think of my own practice and how it's evolved and how the new graduates are coming out, the medical device rep is more important than ever. And I would stand and yell that from a mountaintop, and I'll show you the reasons why. So I work in Vancouver, as mentioned, and my area of practice is mostly in the shoulder. Our vision as a company at Precision OS is to reduce medical complications around the world. And the way to do that is to teach people how to fish and not give them a fish. And by that, I mean accessible procedural education. There's some really big problems, and Theana's done a nice job summarizing many of them in healthcare right now, and that's the lack of access to hands-on procedural training. Cadaver labs are costly and actually becoming increasingly scarce, and I'll talk a little bit about that. We are driven towards efficiency in the operating room, which means that there is actually less time for trainees to get hands-on skill in the operating room. Not only that, compared to when I trained as a resident, there are less clinical hours that a resident has to be at work than what they used to be. And you'll see how this is all driving towards having a much more equipped and knowledgeable and skilled medical device rep in the OR. Today, trainees actually prepare by watching videos and reading. Think about that for a second. What other industry, sport, music, can you imagine an athlete or a musician watching a video about how to play a piano or to swing a golf club before they actually went and played golf or played a piano? It just doesn't make any sense, but this is the world we live in today. Now, the problem, as I mentioned, is actually getting worse for the surgeon, which is, as mentioned, we're driven towards efficiency. So I want to get 5 cases done in a day. There is no time to teach when I'm in that type of pressure cooker environment. Cadaver access is actually going down. So when we think about what's driving this, if we think of cadavers being the gold standard, and cadavers have been around since the 1500s, and there's some interesting stories on cadavers that have been brought up over time. There's less cadaver supply, and overall there's less educators. But guess what? Surgeons are still graduating from residency unprepared. I'll sort of move through this in the interest of time. Here's some data from the National Cremation Society showing the decrease in cadaver supply over time. Where will people train? And this is US data. And this is important because the USA provides 80% of the world's cadaver supply. When I think of now transitioning to why the medical device rep is so important, this is a study we did a few years ago where we asked high volume surgeons if they prefer a medical device rep in the OR. 80% of them said yes. These are people who do more than 100 total joints in the operating room, and they still want the medical device rep in the OR. What do they value from the medical device rep? Attentiveness, being organized, knowledgeable, honest and available. What things are things do they not value? Pushiness, salesmanship, I think these are all things that we're not surprised by. Being unprepared, unengaged, and disorganized. Interestingly, if you have a very good working relationship with a surgeon, that relationship could last anywhere from 5 to 20 years. The respondents or the surgeons actually identified having a desire for familiarity. And 50% of the surgeons would actually change their implant based on the qualities of the device rep, so the surgeon will follow the rep around. When we think of how to upskill and continue to add productivity aspects to a medical device rep, there's so much to learn. So we need to design a way for you to work smarter, not harder. So enter virtual reality. So this is a really cutting edge way to not only learn your anatomy, but to prepare for what's going to happen in the operating room. To answer this question and this problem, what we've done, and Deanna, you probably haven't seen this for some time, but we've actually developed the world's first virtual reality cadaver lab. And so this is the quality of the assets that we've been working with. And for those of you who don't know Vancouver, Vancouver is known as Hollywood of the North. There's so much talent here in this town that we've been able to leverage that. And my two co-founders come from software development to enable us to create this virtual cadaver. That enables us to do really remarkable things that you just can't do in any other environment. So we can practice exposures. I think it's important for a medical device rep to have a deep, deep sense of the anatomy, because everything starts from anatomy. If you don't know your anatomy, you cannot be successful in the OR. There's just no way that without having this foundation, you can succeed in the operating room, because knowing the device on its own won't translate anymore for a surgeon who needs your expertise more than ever. We can do things like put needles into joints, again, driving a deeper sense of anatomy understanding. We can position patients in different places here. You can see this is in beach chair. I'm putting needles into joints here, while also moving the arm. I'm behaving in this virtual environment exactly the way I would in the actual operating room, with being able to do the impossible in this environment. So not only is it important to know the anatomy from outside in, you can learn how to understand the anatomy from inside out. So what does the anatomy look like from the back, the front, and inside the shoulder, as an example. But again, this pertains to every joint. One of the things when you build a digital cadaver lab is you can actually create pathology. Now, when we think of cadavers and when we learn on cadavers, we're actually learning on a normal specimen. There's not a broken bone. There's no missing bone in the shoulder, the hip. There's no arthritis on occasion. So this concept of being able to create a pathology in the cadaver lab has been insurmountable from us in terms of relevance. I can actually pick any bone on this virtual cadaver and create a fracture, and then take this fracture into the virtual reality operating room and then treat it just like I would in the real world. But again, I can do things that most environments don't allow us to do. Like I can take the bone out of the body. I've got live fluoro here. There's no radiation, so I can zap myself as 1,000,000 times or more if I want. But what I'm doing here is I'm understanding how to manage these cases in a much more detailed and authentic way than I could do in any other model of learning, unless I'm in the OR where the consequences are very high. Of course, the importance of all this in VR is data, where you can actually collect massive amounts of data on your performance by behaving just the way you think you should behave. And we don't have that chance in any other environment right now. Now, this is something that MSC has done extremely well, which I believe firmly is you have to learn from experts, because we will not live long enough to figure it out by ourselves. And this is something I also believe firmly, is that expertise is globally distributed, but their knowledge and presence is not. So if I am a resident or a MSc student in Texas, but the expert of this particular area lives in California, now I can connect those two people. And that's the real power of this technology. So this is a virtual environment of me. I don't know if you can hear that volume, Deanna. Can you hear that volume or not?
No, no.
Okay, I'll have to stop and reshare again, I think. I'll press play here and we'll just keep going. But in this virtual environment, there's 7 other people that are with me, and they're all over the world. In fact, you don't have to be in North America to benefit from this. You could be anywhere on the planet, as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection that's measured in kilobytes, nothing more than that. Now I'll show this video, and I'm happy to share a link to this afterwards, but actually I will have to share my sound here. Apologies, I forgot to do that. Let me stop sharing.
I think if you just share the direct tab, you should be able to share the sound.
The direct tab. Oh, it was share tab audio. Okay, that works. Okay, let's go back to that. Okay, so I'll press play here. There's what happens when you don't have a teacher on demand. We've created an AI mentor, which we've called Delphi, that you can ask any question you want in any language, and she'll reply in any language that you want her to. She'll do things like turn the skin off, she'll highlight muscles, and she will actually ask you questions and allow you to ask her questions. So I'll press play here. I'll turn the volume up if you can hear it.
So I think the volume may still be off.
It's not working. Okay, I can share that video. But basically what's happening there is there's two people, one human and one not, asking the AI questions. And the AI is responding to those questions while highlighting the muscles and nerves based on those questions. 3 more slides. The most important thing with this technology that we've shown with over 50 publications is that you learn more in less time, which is actually quite remarkable, because what other technology allows you to learn a skill or a procedure or anatomy by investing less time than you ever have before? And why does this happen? It's actually based in neuroscience. When we look at, this is a brain and spectroscopy of a brain when someone does a hands-on experience. These are the areas that light up when that happens. Look what happens when you watch a video of that same experience, but look what happens when you take that same experience and do it in immersive virtual reality. You actually get a heightened stimulation of those areas in your brain that are important for learning that particular task. So just to summarize, there are clear pathway, there are clear limits in learning that we've identified. And this technology, the most exciting thing about it is it's here, it's now, it's being used all over the world. This is a massive force multiplier for anybody to prepare, augment, and accelerate your skill before you go to the OR. And it's a cadaver lab that's allowing you to do anything, anywhere. And importantly, we live by these 3 Ps. We can teach people and how people learn the principles of surgery with the pathology. And again, what's important is the products for surgery. So thank you very much, Deanna, and I'm happy to answer any questions there.
Thank you, Dr. Boyle. That was fantastic. Actually, that was a beautiful segue into our next presenters, our next guests, actually, Brandon and Edward, who are solving a completely different problem within healthcare. As they mentioned, they used to work in the industry. So I'll let them take over and kind of give us a rundown on why they segmented or segued into coming up with RepPrep AI. But fantastic product, by the way, you guys.
Yeah, amazing presentation. That was really interesting. So hi, everyone. My name is Brandon Hoover, co-founder of RepPrep along with Eddie. And so to give you guys kind of a 30,000-foot overview, RepPrep is the first ever fully customizable sales enablement tool that's meant specifically for medical sales reps. So Eddie and I actually created this tool to crush our own quotas. As you guys enter medical sales and have that experience, you realize you could have one great year and then your quota's doubled. So how do you consistently make an impact in such a saturated and really tough competitive industry? And so in order to do that, you need to have high quality calls. In order to do that, you need to prepare for these calls, and you need to know and spend your time super wisely, know how to target, who to target, and then how to close that individual physician. And that's where we step in. We're simply a tool that will save you guys time and provide amazing data that has actually never been before released to just individual users. Our motto is made by reps for reps. Companies can purchase this data, like claims data and stuff like that, but it typically never really trickles down to the end user, to the rep at scale for everybody. So Eddie pulled up our territory map feature. So first, we're going to go very quickly through this, but you can identify all your targets based on their total claims or individual CPT codes that relate to the specific product you're selling. From there, you can be able to go and identify all the top targets based on how many procedures they've done, what they typically focus on, and then create individualized and customizable sales plans for each one of these doctors that you already know is a significant target for you. Utilizing this claims data this way, you could be able to annualize how much revenue you can estimate for any given physician, and you could be able to tailor fit your sales process to fit these specific people instead of going in and kind of guessing. I know this person's an orthopedic surgeon, but what if you're going and selling hip implants, but they don't do any more hip cases? So you're able to give yourself that information before you even step foot in that office. From there, after you identify your targets, this is our bread and butter. You can generate our incredibly in-depth sales plans, and I'll pass it over to Eddie to review. But the data that you get is amazing. No matter if you're brand new in the industry or if you have 20 years experience, there's data here that you will need to be able to close every physician.
So like when I introduced us, right, I said that both Brandon and I, we worked in two separate industries of medical sales, both in orthopedics and in oncology diagnostics. So the sales cycle in orthopedics is actually very different than diagnostics. In diagnostics, you're having lunch with a doctor, you're actively practicing those sales methodologies face to face. Where in orthopedics, right, you may see a doctor at the scrub sink. You only have 30 seconds to get some information on that doctor to go have a good sales call. And that's why our software is so powerful. These reports pull in 30 seconds for any US-based physician. But what makes us different is that we're actually incorporating the products that you're selling into the sales plan. Obviously, you're selling products, right? That's a very important part of this. So we need to know information about the physician, but we also need to know information about your competitors and how you're going to actively sell against them. So the first feature that we have built in here is the product selection feature. So if you sell multiple products, and you select multiple products before you pull a report on a doctor, we'll actually tell you what's the best product to lead with. And it helps with targeted selling. So in this explanation of chosen product, it shows the total knee, the triathlon total knee, and it even justifies it because this doctor has several articles that relate to total knee arthroplasty. Therefore, the total joints product's a better product to lead with. So we've broken these reports into what we call the 3 pillars of medical sales success, which is understanding your target, mastering your product, and then fitting your product in with your target's practice, right? We're bringing everything together in one clean sales call. So this is the information that you can expect to find on all these reports. So we have full contact information, the doctor's affiliations, a list of notable colleagues, and we have some really awesome stuff in our development pipeline in this section. Then what we do is we report out all of the doctor's publications, but what we do is we actually tailor these publications to the product that you're selling. So if I'm selling a total knee replacement and this doctor had an article on COVID-19, we wouldn't necessarily report that out because it's not going to help you sell a total knee. Instead, we focus on these publications because as you're going to see later on in the report, we analyze the article, we analyze your product, and then we give you talk tracks that are referencing this doctor's article to make it give you an even more powerful sales call because you're referencing this doctor's research. Then this section here, we found that this doctor had an award for excellence in total knee research. That's a great thing to bring up. So we have both commercial and Medicare claims data. On the base model, we only include the Medicare claims data, but this is all physician specific and we don't use aggregated data. So these are these doctors' actual volumes. Then of course we have Sunshine Act data. And then we finish off the doctor specific section with a patient profile. So age groups, demographics, common procedures and conditions. Then we get into your product, right? Very important part of medical sales, you're selling a product. So we started off with market size and trends, and then we go into the strengths, the weaknesses, unique selling points, all about your product. And as you're going to see in this report, we're even going off-site and we're going to start bringing in new publications, new research, maybe a brand new article about total knee arthroplasty. We're going to bring that into these reports and we're going to reference it. Then we get into the competitive analysis section. So we break down who are your top competitors by market share in this physician's territory. We start this off with a specification side-by-side analysis. And then we go into the talk tracks. So if you know you're selling against Zimmer Biomet or Synthes, we give you a quick strengths, weaknesses, and then the advantage of your product over theirs. This section is going to be supporting angles and talking points for Dr. Shaw. So we're going to reference Dr. Shaw's articles. We're going to go out and we're going to find additional articles that you can use in your sales call. And then we get into the sales plan itself. So now what we're trying to do here is we're trying to give these reps the tools that they need to give this doctor a custom fit sales call. Not that sales call where you go in and you just riddle off facts about your products. I want to make sure that I'm talking to this doctor. This is my product, and this is how it's going to enhance your patient care. So we started off with talking points. So this is where you can start the conversation with this physician. Then we get into the objection section. So what's great about our software too is this is all interactive. So if you're out in the field and these reps are getting objections that maybe they don't know the answer to, instead of saying, hey, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. You can go into the software in real time, input the objection or question that the doctor had, and then we will give you an output of what's a good response to that objection. So you can give answers to these doctors' questions within like 30 seconds. Then lastly, we have 6 preloaded sales methodologies. So we have all the major sales methodologies, and this is where we take that methodology and we're inputting all of that information that you saw above to help you give a structured sales call. And so, one thing that we hear from a lot of orthopedic companies is like, hey, we need to get our reps away from just covering cases. We need to get them out selling. And that's why our software has been so useful, especially in the orthopedic space, because if you're not used to selling all the time, we have these sales methodologies loaded in here so you can actively practice the next time you see, Dr. Smith or whoever. This is how I'm going to set up that sales call, and this is how I'm going to close them. And so this is where we've broken it down. Obviously, it finishes with closing with integrity and then evidence-based value demonstration. And what's great about these two is that these sales plans, every time you pull one, we send you a PDF copy to your email address. But the whole site is mobile friendly. We're a web-based app. And so again, that was another reason why we wanted to build this, because I'm most effective when I'm out in the field. I'm running into hospitals. I need something that I can reference on the go. So.
Thank you for that. That's honestly incredible. What you built here is something that takes reps years and years to gather, if they even gather all that information on their own. So that's really fantastic. Thank you for doing. So switching gears into biologics. So another advancement that we have here, especially in orthopedics, because there's a huge need, is regenerative medicine and orthobiologics. So these are things like platelet-rich plasma, stem cells, amnion, or placental tissues. It's really actually immersed itself within orthopedics. I actually think that there isn't really a sports case that should be done without a biologic, because it enhances healing in so many ways. Every person is different. We've got pathology like diabetes, and diabetes actually is something where the patient is missing like crucial healing factors. So being able to add a biologic to the treatment process actually helps with healing, and of course plays into the entire value-based care outcomes and hopefully decreasing costs in the long run, right? So this is a long run game. So we've got to start coming up with ways to solve problems in the long run, along with our surgeons and along with our facilities. So with biologics, you have it's so diverse, and I think the need in orthopedics is actually huge, because bone healing is such a precise process that any one thing out of whack and then it doesn't heal, which of course then brings in a whole host of other problems, especially with advancing age. We're trying to solve the issue of osteoarthritis and cartilage that doesn't regenerate. So we're still on that path as an industry. I think that there's there's a scientist out of, I think she's in Sweden, where she's actually managed to reproduce cartilage cells in a petri dish. So we're on our way, but there's still so much more advancement to go. You know, again, biologics is basically enhancing and augmenting human bone healing, tissue healing, and hopefully soon cartilage healing. And it's really, really important, I think, for companies and in our world to really get the data out, and that's been very, very difficult. So, you know, a rep coming into orthopedics and understanding biologics is actually a huge benefit. That's been a damper so far in terms of getting our industry to switch gears and into starting to thinking about the science of healing, right, of biologics. That's something that is completely new to us, and it's been probably a good 5-10 years that we are working on understanding that ourselves. But that's why it's important that you guys do, because the future of orthopedics truly, truly is in orthobiologics. Moving on from there. So what kind of innovation, what does that mean for you, for reps, right? What does that mean for reps? So really, it ties everything together that we've been looking at today with Rep Prep AI and Precision OS. Training is absolutely key. And again, deliberate practice is how you're going to get the skills and the knowledge to be able to go into the OR and work with surgeons as part of their team within the OR. And you heard from Dr. Goyle how important a rep actually is in the operating room. And then, of course, but to start that, how are you going to achieve that? Well, I think this is where Rep Prep AI does an amazing job. The information that they are able to give you is absolutely key. I can speak from experience. It took a very, very long time to get that information. Honestly, as a one person show, or even company wise, they're absolutely right that the information does not trickle all the way down to the reps, and you typically don't have that. So having this in the palm of your hand is absolutely phenomenal. And I wish I had that when I was a rep. So with that, companies, product teams, you've got to bridge engineering, clinical and marketing, put them together. And of course, data governs all. So that's really the most important part as well. So I think the reps that are going to be successful here are going to be the ones that connect the training with information, right? Targeting properly. And then, of course, once they get there, having the knowledge to be able to carry through, and of course, being reliable, will turn into hopefully good long-term relationships with your customers. And with that, let's, I think, Michael, we're going to go into Q&A.
Yeah, just one more slide there, Rachel, if you want to go back, just to be clear, and I think it was clear, but to reiterate the fact that MSC has partnered with both Precision OS and Rep Prep AI. So great overviews by our panel. But just to be clear, you know, we believe strongly in all the things that Fiona and the panel have gone over, and that's why we've worked to incorporate these things with our MSC curriculum, right? So the things that you saw today and heard about today, these are all elements of the MSC program, and every student gets hands-on experience and practice with all of these. So we try to put our money where our mouth is here, and make sure that as the industry evolves, we evolve in terms of our curriculum and our program structure. And that's why we are fortunate and grateful to have both Rep Prep AI and Precision OS integrated into every one of our programs here at MSC. So just wanted to add that. Thank you guys for attending from both Rep Prep and Precision OS. And yes, give it back to you, Fiona. Looking for some engagement if anyone has any questions or even thoughts on what we covered today.
Let's check the comment line
And
here.
and would also invite the panel to kind of comment on that last slide there, right? And we heard a little bit of it, but you know, let's bring this home to the rep. How is all this impacting the current rep as well as that future rep who's looking to get in the industry? You know, what are the opportunities and challenges here that come with innovation for the device rep in the industry?
I'll actually hand that over to Brandon and Eddie, because with Rep Prep AI. Do we have them? Michael? Oh, okay. We have a question coming up. I'm not sure if Brennan and Eddie are still on, but we have a question here. Good afternoon. I'm a registered nurse, and my question is, so this is basically for the experienced sales rep. Do you mean, Shiana, do you mean the RepRep AI or VR for the experienced sales rep? This because if that's what you're talking about, no, this is not for the experienced sales rep. This is actually for entry. As I mentioned, I wish I had access to all this when I was becoming a rep. You know, when you first get into the industry, there's not a lot of there's so many resources and not a lot of direction. So you're going into your territory and you are trying to figure out where to go, who to see, who your surgeons are. You have surgeon lists based on accounts and purchasing patterns that they give you. But other than that, you're kind of on your own. And so this is absolutely for the rep who is trying to get into the industry, who's trying to kind of figure out their territory. I'll give you an example from my life. And that was, I was promoted from an associate rep to a rep in 3 months. And then I moved, right? I moved to the territory just north of where I lived. I knew nothing. I didn't know any of the hospitals. I didn't know any of the surgeons. I didn't know even directions to hospitals. So this information was absolutely key. It would have been great. I mean, it would have made my life so much easier to be able to plot your surgeons out, to be able to plot your hospitals out, and then actually actively target. Because one of the things that's very difficult, and I've seen this as a manager, is watching a new rep literally in the OR, and the surgeon that they wanted to talk to walks right by and they have no idea. That's just basic right there, right? And so that's a wasted opportunity to at least start the process of getting to know the surgeon and meeting them. So this is huge. I mean, this is information that we all would have killed for back in the day. So this is not, yes, for the experienced rep, it will definitely help their sales, but I cannot stress how important a platform like RepRep AI is for the person who is just getting into their territory. And then to bring that home with Precision OS, you know, we don't have access to cadaver labs. They're put on by companies. And so you kind of have to learn yourself. It becomes really, really expensive for companies to ship sawbones and these like these kits all over the place for new reps. So having VR right there as well, and the collaborative mode, I can't even express. It's fantastic for surgeons, absolutely, but also as reps, we gain the same benefit because one, deliberate practice, but two, imagine a training class that's all over the country, and that's what it looks like. Instead of the companies flying everyone into one place to do 2 weeks of training, that's hotel, that's flights, that's so much in terms of cost, which really should be then turned around into research and development and on their team. They can take that money and do that now, right? Versus where everyone can be in their own homes in collaborative mode and learning. You just don't have access to this at all otherwise as a rep. Again, you only really get access to cadavers when there's a course in town, which is maybe twice a year. So really getting hands-on is difficult in our industry, considering what we have to do and what our responsibilities are in the operating room. It's actually, we need better training. And so that's where VR comes in, being prepared and seeing the anatomy and understanding the anatomy and being able to translate that to the operating room, I think is huge. So this is very much all for beginners. And again, I thank both companies for allowing us to incorporate that in our curriculum, because it's been really, really key and instrumental in getting our grads out of our courses and ready to go. They are so much more prepared because of it. And I just actually heard from a grad who was interviewing with Arthrex out on the East Coast, and the manager was saying, or the VP of sales was saying, how they've hired 3 MSC grads, and they've been way more prepared than anyone else he's hired. So he's been really happy, and that's exactly what we're here to do as well. Do our part in the solution of putting better reps in the operating room. So I hope that answered your question.
And there was a question regarding access to Rep Prep AI and Precision OS. So just for those who aren't following the chat, yes, you will have access, of course, in the program, but also after graduation as well, with free trial periods extending out into your 1-year placement services. As a reminder, that comes with your attendance at MSC. We stay engaged with you for a year, helping you find a job and also launching you on zero fee recruiting, which is our hiring platform, another topic for another webinar. But along with that, you do continue to have access to both tools that we covered today.
Dr. Goyle?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment for those interested. You know, being a medical device representative is a very, it's a really big and important role when we think of providing care for patients, because when you're in the operating room with someone like myself, you provide such a critical part of that patient care. And when my colleagues and I think of the role of the medical device rep, no one knows more about what we're going to implant into a patient than the both of us. So you're actually more of a partner to me in the operating room than someone there to just support the device, because not only do you drive efficiency in the operating room, you're actually directly involved with ensuring that I provide the best care and use the product correctly when I'm in the operating room. So I just wanted to add that context from a clinician perspective on how important the role is when you're in the operating room.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much. I agree. I believe it's a partnership. Amazing relationships. You're absolutely right. That last for decades. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon, and the relationships that you'll make in this industry are absolutely huge. And then you can springboard from there. You can see here, we've got entrepreneurs from the surgeon perspective, and then of course reps that came up with moved into software and came up with something that's very, very important and essential for every rep to hit their goals every year. So yeah, it's been absolutely amazing innovation wise. So Michael, we're out of time.
Yeah, we'll go just a minute or two over, be respectful of everyone's time. I do see a question in here from Shiana, I hope I'm saying that correctly, but asking about MSC courses in terms of tuition and length. So Theon, I can go ahead and summarize just briefly. We do have our orthobiologic program, so germane to the topic today. For those who do have an interest specifically in going into the biologic space, we have an 8-week program that is priced at $9,495. It is a remote online program, save for the final week, which you will go to Atlanta to have a hands-on portion and meet your peers as well as your instructors. Then we have 2 10-week course offerings. We have Total Ortho, that is our new online program, which distills down all the best parts of our previous 12 weeks where we had specialties, and now we've wrapped every orthopedic specialty into one program through an online delivery model, leveraging the latest in instructional design as well as these tools you saw today. In fact, I don't think we could be delivering an online program of this caliber without Rep Prep AI, and certainly without Precision OS. You see that collaboration mode. Every week, you and your peers are in collaboration mode with an Oculus headset on, using the tools that Dr. Goyle showed here today. And that program is $14,495. And then Total Ortho Plus, again, 10-week. You can kind of think of this as the flagship program. Certainly, you're getting a ton of great experience and value with TO, Total Ortho Online, as well as 1 week in Atlanta. But the Total Ortho Plus is fully in person. So it's 10 weeks on campus, face to face. And as you can imagine, you're just getting a different level of interaction, not only with your peers and your instructors, but guest speakers, field trips, if you will, out to device manufacturers. So that is priced at $19,495. Of course, we do have financing options through our partners Ascend and Climb, as well as scholarships from time to time. So I just wanted to give Shiana answer that question. I figured I'd give a kind of an overview for everyone on the call. Brandon, I know you had, I think, wanted to chime in with kind of your viewpoint on where the rep, how this is affecting the current and future rep. Would love to hear your thoughts, and then after that, we'll throw it to you, Fiona, to wrap things up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. So yeah, so this is basically your sales assistant through trying to identify a job when you're on the job, and even when you're senior level on the job and doing it for years. And so the one thing I wanted to touch on is, after you go through MSC and you're placed with some multiple interviews and you're trying to, really impress them and land that job, feel free to utilize Rep Prep to identify your top 3 targets, become a product expert by utilizing our competitive sales analysis on the reports, and really blow away your interview. I mean, we've seen, I think it's about 100% like conversion rate between either getting like first interview to moving forward in the process. And so it's really incredible. So yes, it's meant for everybody that's, affiliated with the field, whether you're aspiring med rep or a senior person. So I just wanted to touch on that use case.
Yep. Thank you. That's actually perfect. Yes. And Brandon's absolutely right. In the interview process, if you want to blow away your hiring managers, this is the way to do it, because access to this kind of information is really non-existent unless you have a platform like this. So use this to your advantage for sure. Thank you, Brandon. And thank you, Dr. Goyle, for everything, for being a part of this webinar today. Really appreciate your insights from both perspectives, one from the clinical and then of course one from our industry. But this concludes our webinar today. Thank you all very, very much for coming. Appreciate your engagement and your attendance today.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.